Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor and subscribe to the John Keim Report wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're finding us on YouTube, like button, subscribe button, you know the deal. You can find us at Ampire Media, Ampire. It would be much appreciated as always. Well, today it's Tuesday, August 16th. So here is your practice report. Let's start with the roster moves today because Washington and all the teams must get down to 85 players as of 4 p.m. today. So Washington, as of this taping, has already made 4 roster moves to get down to 86. They have actually 87 on the roster, but David Bada is an international player, does not count toward that total. So their moves today released Deion Calhoun and Devontae Bosby, and then they placed Alex Armah and Sammis Reyes on the reserved injured list. So what that means is those 2 players could come back this year if the team provides them with an injury settlement within 7 days. If that happens, then they must sit out the first 3 games plus however many games were covered under their injury settlement. Then they could return. If you wait until 7 days to reach some sort of a settlement or wait after 7 days, then they can't return to Washington at all this year. So that's the situation there. Again, as of this taping, they have to make 1 more roster move. After practice today, Coach Ron Rivera was not happy. Usually he gathers the players and they talk and the players are standing up and there's a little bit of chatter or whatever, or at least, because he might say something that gets them a little bit excited or whatever. Today, they took a knee. They are on the side field. He talked to him for at least 5-6 minutes or so. All he would say afterward is that he was not pleased with some things. When asked specifically what he wasn't pleased about, he just said there were things he wasn't happy about. What we saw is there was the extra chirping a little bit. There were some guys getting hit and going to the ground. That's always something that coaches are going to hate in training camp because they want to work on things. They don't want guys getting hurt. So we don't know specifically what he's upset about, but he wasn't happy. I'm going to get to one of those injured guys in a minute, which is Wes Schweitzer. But first, let's start off with running back Antonio Gibson. This was an unusual sight. Now, you can read into it however you want, but he took some reps in the special teams drill as a slot protector guy. So basically one of the wing backs in protection for punt coverage, but he would be in protection on that. And that's a role that usually a backup running back would fill. Brian Robinson had been working there. And I think because of the way they're going to rotate their backs this year, it's probably worthwhile for Gibson to learn some of that. But it also clearly follows a game where he did have that fumble, and that fumble was a big deal to the coaches. So whether or not what this means for him down the road, I don't know yet. I think we have to wait and see what the actions are as far as how they play these guys, what the rotation is. It certainly looks like in practice this week with the ones that Brian Robinson usually has been working first, but that group does rotate, just like the receivers will sometimes rotate. I mean, I saw Terry McLaurin and a couple other starting receivers with the second group today on a couple of routes in the red zone. So you have to take some of that stuff with a grain of salt. But watching him work on the punt team was certainly an unusual sight. And Nate Katcher, the special teams coach, was working with him on a couple things. I will say Gibson had one really nice block on the first rep that he had, but it is something that's a role that usually Brian Robinson had been working in. So suffice it to say, they're not pleased with the fumbles. And even Scott Turner today, offense coordinator, said it's something that, quote, has to be fixed. They know what he has to do. And again, it's a lot of running style and keeping that ball tight. When he starts moving his body and that ball starts going out here, and you can still see it sometimes in practice that still happens here, he's got to get that fixed because, as Turner said, basically the first job of a running back is to protect that ball. He calls it's a wasted possession, and they wasted a possession Saturday night. They don't want to waste any more, and if they can find some alternatives, they will. I think, again, like I said yesterday, they have some more choices this time to get the message through to Gibson that you've got to do this better. All right. Now, let's get on to Wes Schweitzer because he's one of the guys that I told you was injured. He did fall down. He was practicing early on with the ones, fell down, hit his hip, and Ron Rivera said there is a little bit of a concern with him. We don't know the extent of anything. What we do know is he left practice, went in the medical tent, and then went up to the facility. And that Ron Rivera said there was, quote, a little bit of a concern. So What that did do, though, is it gave rookie Chris Paul a chance to work with the starters, which I think is a good thing because you want to see how that kid has looked pretty good in camp, and you want to see how is he progressing. And one way you measure that is by getting him reps against the better players. I will say, in the one-on-ones against Daniel Wise, did a really nice job in one rep that I watched. He also did a nice job against rookie Fedarian Mathis. You want to call him Phil? Go ahead, Phil Fedarian Mathis. But it did a nice job against him on one pass protection, just used power. Chris Paul's a strong player. And I talked a little bit about him on the podcast yesterday, so I don't want to go into too much detail about what he is showing because I said that yesterday. But today, he handled his job in there. And one thing that you notice with him, and I think this is important for any athlete, is that he doesn't look like it's too big for him. Like when he's in there, he plays with a certain mindset, and it's as if he's saying, I belong here. So what that means for the season, I don't know, but I know that he's been off to a good start in training camp. Another guy I talked about yesterday, but I've got to talk about him again today, is linebacker Jamin Davis. Put together another solid practice. There was one time in the one-on-one coverage where he was up against J.D. McKissick, and McKissick is the best route runner that they have, certainly as a running back, and has to be one of the best route running backs in the NFL. Well, he's gotten Jamin a couple times, but Jamin has done a nice job with sinking his hips and being able to react to his quick twitch moves. Well, today he reacted very well. And what you heard and saw after the play was running backs coach Randy Jordan yelling, "That's a hell of a job." And he was talking to Davis. So he said, "That's a hell of a job." He went over and slapped hands with them, people yelling, whooping and hollering for what the defensive guys for Davis. So that's something he does well. Then we get into practice, and there were 3 straight plays that he made in practice during 11-on-11 work. They said, okay, is this kid starting to get it? Because they need him for this defense to improve, he needs to get it. So on this particular series, the first rep defends tight end Armani Rogers, defends the ball, knocks it away. Second play, fills the hole, stops the running back. Nice play. Third play, it looked like he was working as the Mike. On the play, there's a pass play down the field. He drops back into coverage. Ball gets tipped. He hustles back to the ball, picks it off. Those are the things that you did not see those 3 plays in a row from him last year, not even in training camp. In training camp, I remember last year, I always say, I don't know what he's going to do during the regular season. I can only tell you what we see right now. And what we've seen right now is a player who has improved. In fact, running back J.D. McKissick did say later, he told the media, he looks like a totally different player. So there you go. Got to translate to the season, but it's been a good start. And I think I told you yesterday, one of the things he's doing where he's most effective when he's able to line up closer to the ball. So there you go. Another thing with Scott Turner is he's going to call plays from the sidelines this year after calling them in the press box, which is where a lot of times offensive coordinators will call the game. He said it was something he started thinking about after the season, and it's something he talked to Ron Rivera about after they acquired Carson Wentz. And he talked to Wentz about it too. He likes the communication he has with Wentz, feels he can talk to the guys a little bit quicker and more effectively when he's on the sidelines. I also think that it's not something you're going to make if you don't have eyes in the booth that you can trust. And longtime offensive assistant Jim Hostler, who's been with Scott for 4 years, will now go up to the booth. So he's got somebody he can trust up there, Ken Zampese as well. I think that helps too. And one thing that Turner said about Wentz is that every day you can see that confidence level start to rise. Again, I think it's when guys get more comfortable in a setting and in an offense or a system, they look more comfortable. It's natural. And I think we're starting to see that. Again, I told you the other day, seeing more rhythm. Today was kind of an up and down day with the offense. You saw the defense winning definitely more than a few routes, but I do see him starting to work more in sync with Terry McLaurin, throwing the ball before he breaks a couple of times. He had one nice ball to him where that was the case, but there was also another time, and I'm going to get into this a little bit later, where he throws the ball as he's breaking, but William Jackson picks it off because he's right there too. But that's a ball where he's throwing with trust, thinking that McLaurin's going to win the route. And that one, Jackson got the route. There was also another one down the sidelines that he threw to McLaurin over that McLaurin was able to go up and grab over the top of defensive back Kendall Fuller. A nice ball, gave his guy a chance to win, and he did. So you're starting to see better rhythm between those two, and that's very important. You know, again, still a work in progress, but it's progressing, and that's the key. Again, I'll go back to William Jackson because we talked about this earlier, but he's actually looked a lot better this year than he has in past year, or excuse me, than he did last year. And some of that is just a confidence level. He's moving like a different player this year. And I even asked him, like, I asked him about that after, and he said he is more confident. And he said it helps when you're confident in what you're doing and what you see and what you know. And I think you're seeing that not just in zone coverage, but in man coverage as well. Finally, Danny Johnson had a tougher game the other night. He's had a good camp, but he did not have a great game. Well, he made a highlight play in practice today in the red zone drill, defending Dax Mill in the back of the end zone. Taylor Heineke throws the ball up high, and Johnson just reaches up one arm with his right hand, pulls it down with one arm, and just takes off down the field. Really nice play. And last thing is, I'm sorry, I said last thing, but I lied. I have one more. And this is just a little thing that happens in practice, but it's part of the teaching process. Nate Katzer working with tight end Armani Rogers on kick coverage, or actually all the guys. And they're running through some kick returns and how to do with the up backs right in front of the kick returner and where they need to be, where they need to position themselves. I mean, he's very precise. Like if it's on this particular route, on this particular return, you've got to be right here. And if you're not, he's going to stop it and let you know you got to be right here. If you're 2 yards over here, it's not going to work because the angle is then messed up, and the angle that the coverage team is going to take is going to screw up the return. So they worked on that. And then one time he did praise Rogers because the returner in the end zone, you know, you get in the end, he catches the ball a couple yards deep in the end zone, but it's up to Rogers on that play to signal when he and the other up back have to go. So he was very vocal about it. Hold it, go. As soon as he hit the plane, and Katzer stopped and praised him. It's just another lesson for a rookie. It's another way that kid can try and to win a roster spot in addition to what he's showing on offense. So there you go. That's the practice report for Tuesday, August 16th. I'll be back with another one on Wednesday, August 17th. So I will talk to you next time.